It's DraftKings Best Ball Week. Thanks to our partners over at DraftKings. I'm bringing on a bunch of people around the best ball space. We are going to be drafting the $1 Million Contest over on DraftKings. We hope that you will join us. Pat Kerrane is going to draft a shipper with us today. It's Short King Summer, dude. It just feels like no one in fantasy sports ever learns anything. Does he mistime it, or is Brock Bowers just a grown man? Brock Bowers is just a grown man. Dare I say, Rich, football might be back. In the words of Lane Johnson, this offense looks constipated. It's Short King Summer. All right, Kerrane, here we are. We are drafting on DraftKings.com. We are drafting at the 1.6. I actually think this is where I drafted with Neil when we did this yesterday. I've got the Sidekick pulled up. How we doing, man? Are we excited? Should we try and draft a true zero running back team? Assuming if we're able to get Lamb, we definitely should. We should try and push it, right?
So wait, where are we drafting out of? Which draft
We're
slot?
drafting 1.6.
That is 6. Okay. Before we went live, I believe you said we had the 1-on-1. So
yeah, many such cases of me being confused.
Yeah, I think we definitely could be looking at a receiver in the first, receiver in the second. With DraftKings, the running backs do tend to kind of like once they start going, they tend to get snapped up, and then you do have receivers that linger into the hundreds. So it can be like I kind of tend to try to get receivers early, and then I don't mind going running backs like a little bit sooner than I sometimes do here. So it'll just be kind of interesting to see how this one falls.
That is the real key of DraftKings Best Ball, which is people are just taking guys wherever, right? and end of the day, sometimes you're gonna see Jaden Daniels go at pick 10, and you might be like, this draft's gonna get canceled, and then you realize it's just like easily not gonna get canceled, right? That it's definitely a little bit of a vibe shift. Sacrilegious is in this one, which
no
is
way. All right.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we are up in one pick. Jefferson went to 4 here. Gibbs goes, or Lamb goes. Do you want Gibbs or Puka or CMC?
I'm down for Gibbs. I mean, his profile is very, very PPR friendly.
Okay, there you go.
So we can
do
the format.
We can now do just a full on hero running back if we want. The thing is, I've been trying to get a little bit more into the hero quarterback builds, like the elite quarterback builds. The thing that is so tough about doing it on DraftKings though is in the later rounds, like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, there actually are plenty of running backs and wide receivers and tight ends that I feel totally comfortable drafting. Whereas like I think I was telling Neil this, like I believe Jackson Dart and Theo Johnson are amongst like, I think Dart might be my most drafted player overall on DraftKings. Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to find the guy who did this as Kerrane wears the freaking hot dog suit over there. And
quarterbacks, man.
I mean, conceptually, I like that. And I like the 3-6-8-3 structural build anyway. But I also, not great screenshot appeal to go down when, you look in your DraftKings Best Ball exposures and like, oh, Jackson Dart's my most drafted player. I mean, you don't really want to be there.
No, you got to go real hard on someone else so that he's like second or third. That's, I think, the ideal. But yeah, I mean, the quarterbacks, quarterback can be an issue. One thing I do like about going quarterback early on DraftKings is that there are kind of positional runs and you can kind of get boxed out of quarterback where you think like, oh, especially if you're at one of the turns. Being in the middle of the board, it's not such a big deal. But if you're on one of the turns and you're like, oh, there's a ton of quarterbacks, I'm going to push it. It can get kind of ugly. On the other hand, earlier this morning, I had a CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Marvin Harrison team, and I had the choice between Kyler Murray like 20 picks past ADP or Dak Prescott like 10 picks past ADP to get the double stack. I actually took Dak, which I'm not sure if it was right or wrong, but that double stack just felt too good. And then a potential to triple it up with Ferguson, which I didn't end up getting, but I got Miles Sanders, so a little consolation prize.
Well, as long as you got Miles Sanders, you want AJ Brown, London, McBride, or Rashi?
I'm pretty into London here.
So I agree with you. And the reason why I like to take London is on DraftKings, the quarterbacks are a little bit more expensive than they are on Underdog or than even on like FFPC main event style stuff. The quarterbacks are a little bit more expensive. And I like building in as much optionality as possible. I want to get to round 9 and have 5 quarterbacks that I can start taking whenever, because I certainly do not want to be left, up the river without a paddle, because stacks are like actually even more important because of the bonuses, because of the 100-yard bonus and the 300-yard bonuses. Like there is going to be a week 17 stack that is like absolutely insurmountable.
There's also, it's a big final. It's 1,021 team final. So you really need a ton of upside. Embracing, some of that correlated upside. It makes a ton of sense. And you could also see it being like if you get one of those guys like a pocket passer who just throws for a ton of yards in week 17, a bunch more concentrated to Drake London. Michael Penix is very cheap. You could see how that it's like I got a big spike week at quarterback for very, very little. That's the type of lever that could win you 1,000 team final.
Yeah. And I the third round prices, like I'm totally cool with Lamar, Josh, Jaden Daniels at these prices. Sometimes you will get a nice little faller. You'll get Jaden Daniels in the 40s or whatever, which is like really nice. I mean, Jaden Daniels, unbelievably strong option for here. All right, I think we probably just go Tyreek Hill here if he's available. I know you're not as in on Tyreek Hill. What do you think here?
No, I don't dislike Tyreek Hill. It's more about what the price is. So I actually am kind of into Tyreek Hill once he falls past some of the picks I really like at the 2-3 turn.
Yeah, like what are you gonna do? Look me in the eye and tell me you want to take Terry McLaurin over Tyreek Hill. I'll just outright I reject that on its face.
Well, also, he had a very similar yards per route run. I think he was slightly higher than Jackson Smith and Jigba. And because JSN is young and he was better in year 2 than year 1, we're like, his yards per route run is a good sign. But because Tyreek's was like way worse than the year before, we're like treating it like, a reason to completely write off his potential, this year. I don't know. I think in some ways it's like a reminder that Tyreek, even though he fell off, still was like a very passable number 1 wide receiver last year. He's just really, really disappointing from where he was in 2023 and the way we drafted him. We had him as one of the first picks off the board. So turning in that kind of efficiency and, really struggling for various points of the season, it just was not what we signed up for. But I think he has a higher ceiling than a JSN, like, because we saw it 2 years ago, what that ceiling is. It's massive. So yeah, once you get past like Garrett Wilson, I think like Bucky Irving, Trey McBride, Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, I want all those guys over Tyreek, and it's not that close. And he's starting to go ahead of some of them or all of them sometimes. So I'm not really into that. But once he falls to the mid-third, I'm definitely down to take him.
I like him a little bit better than doing it in the mid-third. I like him a little bit better in full PPR because there's a little bit of PPR scam to the way the Miami Dolphins offense works, right? Like for all of them, for A-Chain,
a little
bit, for
the whole thing is a scam. They're
doing
motions.
The whole thing is a scam. Okay, to be fair, the entire thing, is a scam. And you can either I say this all the time. You can either be angry about the scam or you can just accept it. And I'm choosing to accept it. I'm choosing to accept the scam.
That's very, very 2025 of you.
Yeah, very, very 25 of me.
Settle in.
So we have our anchor running back. We have 12th-ish round quarterback in London, 13th-ish roundish quarterback in Penix. Now, again, you could get mini men from the top of a cliff at any time on the quarterbacks. But I think with the basis of Gibbs, I think we definitely go more Worthy or Tet McMillan here.
Tet McMillan would be my favorite of the 3 receivers. It's a PPR site, Davis.
So I mean, dude, You're telling me you don't think Xavier Worthy can PPR scam? You think there's no PPR scam in his game?
I don't think that's really the point of him. I think the point of him is to help open up stuff downfield. I think Rice is going to PPR scam. Like Rice is he's really good at getting open underneath. And I think to the extent that Kelsey generates targets, they'll be PPR scammy. They'll be very underneath, not much yak anymore, but he's still going to be able to be a big target, big check down target for Mahomes. So if you're designing the offense, I think you're like, what does Worthy bring? It's like speed and downfield ability and opening up defenses and maybe giving guys like Rice and Kelsey a little bit more room to operate. Kelsey certainly needs it now. So yeah, not that he won't be used on screens and stuff. I do think he'll see some screen stuff and some design touches, trying to generate yak with his speed. But I think his primary, role in the offense will be more traditional downfield targets, would be my guess.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's probably loosely accurate, but I think that if the Chiefs decide to go that way, he could definitely be a PPR scam. And Xavier Worthy in the 5th round, this dude to our left, C Brown 74 has Rice and Worthy. He's cooking. The ability
you got to wonder, does he want Lamar back? Because this is a Mahomes double stack he certainly did not expect to have.
No. You're actually you're conceptually you're totally fine with that. You say Mahomes had. Let's pick here real quick, and then I'll finish making.
Travis Hunter's very fun. Zay Flowers is also a solid pick here, I think.
It's Pickens or it's Hunter for me here.
Let's go Hunter.
All right, that is pretty fun. So this guy right here, what he's hoping for, 280 passing yards on 32 completions for Patrick Mahomes in week 17, and it's all to Rice and Worthy. It's all scammy. They each have 11 receptions. That's
look how beaten down you are. This guy's winning a tournament with Patrick Mahomes double stacked, and it's got to be a scam. It can't just be Mahomes looking like 2018 as Dow winning an MVP, capping an MVP season with Worthy. Elevating the offense with the speed and kind of developing into a real number one. Rice just kind of over the second half of the season has become sort of the number 2 in terms of the importance of the offense, but just racking up targets. Isn't this? Why do I have to do this? Why am I having to paint the bullish Chiefs scenarios?
Because I don't have it in me anymore, Kerrane. That's why. Because I experienced it, and it just it didn't work the way that I needed it to. Hunter, mid 5th for Hunter. This is to the point that it's like, what? Okay, you're taking Hunter over Pickens, you're taking Hunter over Waddle, you're taking Hunter over Ridley. That doesn't feel that difficult to me at all. That feels quite straightforward.
Yeah, especially we have London, we have Tyreek, we've got Ted McMillan, who's a rookie as well, but I think is going to settle into a fairly high volume role quickly, and so we're not asking a ton of Hunter right away. And week to week, I'm sure he will be inconsistent, but this dude he's an incredible route runner. Look at Matt Harmon's charting on him; it's really off the charts, and he's a really strong prospect in a number of ways. Does he play too much cornerback? Maybe he does. But there's also the potential, as Jacob Sanderson has written about, that he's out there for a 70% route rate, but his targets per route run is just absurdly high. And that's not a coincidence or an accident. It's the design of the offense. It's when he's out there running routes. The team is fully aware that they've put Travis Hunter out there, and the whole point of their play calls is to make sure when he's on the field, he gets the ball at a very high rate, which would just be kind of a smart and logical and sort of obvious thing to do. So right now we're at this point where I think people are starting to get nervous about how much offensive playing time he gets. I still think he gets plenty, well over 50% route participation. Right. Maybe 80% is too much to hope for, but if he's at 70%, I think we're going to be fine.
70%, but he's 8th in the NFL in targets per route run. Now we are at another interesting spot here. There's not really a running back I think either of you or I like. I like adding Jauan Jennings here. Do you want to advocate for Swift or Olave or anyone like that?
I'm down for Jennings. I think Jennings is a really strong pick. Kind of pairs well with the double rookie wide receiver room that we have. Yeah, I think I've talked about Jennings because I think he's it's a bit underrated what he did last year, not just in terms of the production, but establishing himself as the number one there. And now with Debo gone and Ayuk potentially missing like half the season, I think Jennings will be the number one wide receiver out of the gate. And I think he holds it. I think he's the number one over Pearsall. Maybe Ayuk, once he returns, if he's healthy enough, he becomes the number one down the stretch. But Jennings
That
is
to
going to have a
me,
role all
of
season.
all the things, that honestly feels like the most unrealistic. Like, how often is it that you put the wide receiver one genie back in the bottle? Like, if Jennings is a really good wide receiver and the 49ers are winning, or they're, they can make the playoffs or they're winning the division, it seems really unlikely to me that you reintroduce Ayuk back into the offense. Someone Kyle Shanahan clearly does not like interpersonally, right? Like every report with Brandon Ayuk and Kyle Shanahan is it's omega bearish, like the most bearish thing that you can find.
Normally, when you sign a guy, you don't want to hear, man, that maybe we shouldn't have signed him.
Yeah,
Does anyone
boy,
want
it would be
him?
nice to trade this freaking albatross of a contract as soon as
Just
humanly
sign.
possible. Yeah, it is so bearish to have a guy signed to a contract extension that you clearly didn't want to sign him to, right? That
Right.
you
They got
clearly did
boxed in.
not. Yeah, they got super boxed in. They don't want to do it. They sign it. They do it anyway, and then it's like, yeah, man, it'd be sick to trade him to Cleveland. Like, dude, if we got rid of this guy for Cedric Tillman, things would be absolutely perfect. So if Jennings is averaging 13 and a half, DraftKings points per game or whatever, seems really unlikely that Ayuk is going to come back in and get a 25% target share. It's just not how things go.
I agree. And that's not really who he is anyway. He's kind of more of a downfield target.
You want to do Pollard, Kaleb Johnson? Kaleb
Caleb
Johnson probably
Johnson
is
seems
my
pretty
favorite.
fun. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah. I was talking about this with Neil yesterday. I mean, I just feel like Kaleb Johnson is the most locked in rookie there's ever been to 240 rushes. Like if you think of what an Arthur Smith running back is, isn't it just so much more Kaleb Johnson than Jalen Warren?
Yeah. Yeah. Although it would also be pretty Arthur
Although
Smith.
Arthur Smith hates rookies.
He hates rookies. And, like Tyler Algier is one of the most Arthur Smith coded running backs ever, but he didn't play until the very end of his rookie season. And then the following year, he played, but Bijan Robinson had been drafted. So he's only playing to kind of ruin the fantasy superstardom of the guy that we all wanted to draft at that point. So Kaleb Johnson, I think, would be more Arthur Smith coded, like if they had kept Najee, or he'll be more Arthur Smith coded next year when they draft a first round running back. Is maybe what I'm trying to say. I think the idea of just leaning on the obvious guy is very un-Arthur Smith. So in some ways, it's actually bullish for Jalen Warren that Kaleb Johnson's expected to start.
Yes. Yeah. I guess I can't really get there with Jalen Warren, and I know the legendary upside people are not going to want to hear this, but dude, if it was going to happen for Jalen Warren, it would have happened. The time, honestly, the time for Jalen. Now, part of it,
year, yeah.
Part of it is that he was banged up last year, so he was not able to play at
Started
his
the
peak
season
performance.
hurt.
Started the
Got
season
hurt
hurt.
again. Yeah,
got hurt again. The offense obviously was not what anyone expected it to be. I mean, he was also a poor fit for the Fields offense, which existed for the first 4 games of the season. And Russell Wilson, never a huge check down artist, right? I mean, that's a big part of it. But Najee was even for Najee, it was tough to watch last year. And Warren was not useless, but I think Jalen Warren is just one of those guys who in his NFL career is going to be, kind of at best the the bad platoon side of a 2-man backfield, the 40 to a 60-40 backfield.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most likely outcome at this point. Jaden Reed falling there would have been really fun. I saw you post that you're a Jordan Mason slappy. Are you into him here?
Feels a smidgen early for Jordan Mason, but maybe it makes sense with our build. What do you think?
I think it makes a lot of sense for the build because we have a rookie and one other running back. And you just talked about how you're not that into Warren.
All
And
right. I
also,
mean, I am two DraftKings best ball videos in on the channel for DraftKings best ball week, and I'm 2 for 2 on Jordan Mason.
there you go. The thing, so I think I agree with you that Warren's kind of most likely scenario at this point is that he's probably, the 1B going forward, but there is a chance that he proves to be the better overall running back than Kaleb Johnson, who's a bit of a boom bust runner, so like if I needed someone to like get downhill, and like run over a dude and then run an extra 15 yards, like I'm taking Kaleb Johnson over Jaylen Warren, but Warren is very shifty. He's good in the receiving game, and he's been pretty consistent as a runner too. So I wouldn't rule out that he actually ends up just being better than Kaleb Johnson. And then you also have strong contingent value. So where he's going, I think he does actually make a decent amount of sense. At the same time, I'm just less excited about him than I was last year.
So this is a really interesting strategy thing on DraftKings. So I think where he is going, like where we just took him, I think is quite bad. And I think we probably should have set ourselves up.
We took
Mason. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think where Mason is going is quite bad. Like I think trying to work on like backstacking Bo Nix or something would have been better. But we are basically in this range, like pick 85 to pick 100 on DraftKings is quarterbacks, bad running backs, wide receivers no one wants. So it maybe is honestly, it might be sharper, particularly if you don't have a stack set up to just say, you know what, I'll just take the running back I like here. I don't care that much about the price because this is a website where you can draft Luther Burden at pick 130.
Exactly.
So like, yes.
Exactly. I think making sure that, if you need the running back, you just get one before because they all go, like Pacheco and Brian Robinson and Aaron Jones and all those dudes, like they're not sitting around. Even Tracy is coming off here. So if you need a little bit more depth and a guy who's going to have a role out of the gate, which it looks like Mason will, I think he's a prudent pick in that range. Purdy looks pretty strong here, I'd say.
Purdy is the easy click.
Yeah, let's do it.
For me here. We're a little bit behind at tight end, but we are, look, we are happy to select 3 tight ends. You ever taken 4 tight ends on DraftKings?
Yeah, you get those extra 2 picks.
So I think if you made me say one quarterback is the best value, not saying he's most likely to finish quarterback 1 or anything, but the quarterback I have the most supreme confidence is just going to be a clear win this year in fantasy football. I think it's Purdy. He's got like an insanely high floor. And the thing is he also has a crazy ceiling because he could just run hot on receiving touchdowns. Like he has kind of run bad on receiving touchdowns in his career. He actually only had a 4.4% TD rate last year, 7% the year before, 7.6% the year before that, led football in 2023 in YPA and adjusted yards per attempt. Like, honestly, he kind of is the same fantasy profile as Mahomes, where it's like when his receivers have a really good year, he's going to be awesome. If they play poorly, he's also going to struggle. Also, Purdy, a little bit more of a scrambler than you think. 66 rushes, 323 yards, 5 touchdowns last year, which is like, I mean, that is not nothing.
Yeah, I would kind of put him more as like almost like Jared Goff, but like just with more juice. Cause it's like you have a couple outs to where like I trust Purdy more, but if things break down, for Goff, it can get really ugly. Like you don't necessarily want Goff in like negative game script because he might just like throw 4 picks.
He might just throw 4 picks.
Yeah. Purdy in negative game script, if his receivers are healthy and playing well, it can be like really fun as we saw last year. But also when things are rolling like they were in 2023, Purdy, like in DFS, I was doing like Purdy and McCaffrey,
Yep.
Like both dudes were putting up huge points. And that's kind of similar to Goff, where sometimes when things are rolling is actually when he has his best game because he's kind of dependent on like the system propping him up and everything. Purdy has that element when he can be kind of a system quarterback. But I think last year showed that like when the system breaks down, he's actually pretty good still.
No,
So I
that
agree with
was
you.
I was a huge Purdy hater. I was like, the 49ers should not pay him this record-breaking contract, yada yada. I totally, it's funny because the 49ers were not good last year, but I like totally changed my opinion of him
Yep.
last season. I'm like, oh, actually, the 49ers should pay him, and he is a guy who can actually kind of elevate his. He got Jauan Jennings a 50-point game. I mean, that's I think that's all anyone needs to know about.
Well, let's hope he gets another one, huh?
Yeah. All right. Do you want to take a quarterback here at 115? And do you want to take one of our stacked guys? Or do you want to take Goff with Gibbs? Or could I perhaps sell you on taking Kaleb Williams and backfilling him with Luther Burden or Colston
You could sell me
Loveland,
on
or
that.
both?
You could sell me on that. I think Lawrence would probably, with Hunter, probably be my first option, but you could definitely sell me on Kaleb if you want to try to grab that ADP value and then get Burden, because we do have
So I
the
think
49ers side too.
So I think we grab the ADP value, and there is a chance that we
Lawrence
are
anyway.
there's actually a chance we're able to get all of Lawrence, Loveland, Burden with it's really unlikely, but it's possible just the way these drafts go.
Yeah. Sometimes getting a little bit looser with like trying to push guys, while also what we did here is we took the position that I think was really neat. Like that was the position of need, quarterback. And then what we're trying to do is push the receiver Burden, who falls like very regularly on DraftKings. I bet he comes back.
He's got the Q tag, brother. That Q
It's the
tag
Q
on
tag, and
on DraftKings.
it's the coach speak. Like people have been very nervous. One thing
Man,
I
I
really
don't
like
care about
about
that. I don't care about that at all. You know what I'm saying? I really do not.
I would care a lot more about it if it was happening 3 or 4 weeks from now.
I don't care about it because he used the 38th overall pick.
Well, if it was training camp, if we're now headed into the season's a month away and he's not out there, and it's kind of looking like it might be like kind of a missed off season for Burden, and it's going to be starting behind the 8 ball in his rookie season, like I do care. But it's the mini camp stuff. I mean, he could come in and have an awesome training camp. He's expected to be ready to go for training camp. So it just feels like a bit of an overreaction. It's not that it couldn't end up mattering, but you're getting a big discount. And one of the things I really do like about DraftKings is that the ADP like really fluctuates. So
Yeah.
some like it does a really good job of expressing like the current mood of the draft landscape. And if people are panicking, like I want that panic to show up in the ADP so I can take advantage. And you've gotten that here. You see him fall all the time.
Yeah. And we frankly might not even like, we probably will take Burden here, but we probably don't have to. Loveland still
What's the ADP difference?
I mean, I think they're both like 133 dot something. Loveland is 133.7. Where is Blue the Burden is 140. So there's certainly a chance that we get both of them, actually.
Does Tuten have any interest? Do you have any interest in Tuten here?
I mean, don't get, buddy. I am always interested
as a running back 4.
Well, yeah, because we probably won't get both of them anyway, but there's a good chance to get one of them at pick 139. I mean, that is almost exactly Luther Burden's ADP.
And then what's
we don't have a tight end yet, which is like fine.
I think that's fine. I think running back 4 and the stack with Burden would be bigger priorities to me. Bang. Tuten, okay.
I know you're not hip to Jaden Blue yet. You'll get there. I mean, don't get me wrong, you'll get there. But what are you seeing with Tuten right now?
So there's some concern with Tuten because there was a quote about like he still has work to do in pass protection. Mm-hmm. He fumbled, famously that first rep he had in minicamp or rookie camp or whatever, he fumbled. And so people are getting really nervous. But the stuff on ETN has been not really that bullish. Like, yeah, he'll probably get the first crack. Bigsby, I think, is a limited player, even though he's probably their best pure runner.
No, you guys are too low on Bigsby, and you'll like.
We're not that low. We
were
too low.
I have not. Okay, there it goes, Burden. It's a little tilting. It's a little tilting, but honestly, like at the end of the day, it's fine. Caleb
wish we took Burden and push Tuten in retrospect, but we might get Loveland.
Also, at the end of the day, Caleb could absolutely be he could have 32 points with none of his pass catchers getting over 20 in week 17.
Totally.
I mean, obviously, it's a hard needle to thread, but he could run for a touchdown, throw one to Loveland, one to Burden, one to Moore, but none of them get the 100-yard bonus. Like it's obviously you would prefer to have them stacked. I don't think it is the end of the world. Like I probably don't ever want to have Dak Prescott unstacked. I don't really ever want to have Purdy unstacked because that's really hard to see. It's a little bit easier for me to see with Caleb Williams.
Caleb's our bring back on the San Francisco stuff.
That game goes absolutely nuclear with a 47-pointer from Jauan Jennings, and Jordan James is starting at running back in that game, who's going to be our 20th round pick. Then Caleb Williams is just keeping them in it.
Love it. Yeah, no, I think Bigsby, we were a bit too low on early, and I've started to feel like he's going to have a role as a runner. But I don't think that Bigsby has kind of the 3-down upside. And I think that either Tuten or ETN is going to be getting work as the primary pass catcher out of the backfield. And then also potentially, using that to like leverage into a bigger role if you're Tuten, right? If ETN, you're kind of hanging on to the rushing work with your receiving role. But with Tuten, you could have him starting more as like a receiver, maybe not in like true, it's not 3rd and 12 where you're going to have the guy staying in pass protection or whatever, but you have the guy out there in situations where you are going to try to incorporate the running back.
Absolutely brutal. Sniped, Kerrane. One pick away.
That's brutal, man.
God, what do we do here? We have
we could take Penix.
Yeah, you know what? Let's just take Penix. Maybe we can set ourselves up to do Penix and Pitts, which is just really disgusting. But we have Penix in London now. Caleb Williams will be now we can frame it as an advance rate piece.
Right. Our stacks are Purdy and Penix for week 17.
Man, that sucks.
We should have taken Tuten, I think, instead of Burden instead of Tuten. Probably. Yeah. And try to push Tuten because Tuten's ADP was actually a little lower than Burden's.
Well, extra we should have done this because we could have taken Jaden Blue instead there.
Oh, never mind. I'm glad we did what we did.
I don't even know who you are anymore, man. It's 2024 was rough on everyone in a lot of different ways. And apparently the Slappy community took it upon themselves to instead of hyping up the 5th round rookie running back who ran a 4.2, they instead took it upon themselves to hype up Miles Sanders, a player who has been universally hated by the Slappy community for. Has Miles Sanders ever been a Slappy pick?
Yes, when he was a rookie.
Okay. Oh, you're right. And you know what? And Gretsch ruined Javonte for the Slappy community by being like 2 weeks late on waving the white flag on him last year.
Mm-hmm.
Sad, really.
It is sad. No, you're right.
And speaking of sad, we are about to make one of the saddest clicks in human history as we select Kyle Pitts here, which is just... I mean, to make a very Michael Leone point, like we are asking a very different question from Kyle Pitts at this average draft position. But you can see I have him ranked at 172 in my stuff. And I think that is probably, he's certainly the correct pick here.
Yeah. I mean, Henry popping up at the top of the sidekick because we just think he's a better pick still, even with the stacking element. But I certainly don't mind the double stack here.
I so on fan or on Underdog, I don't have your stuff loaded up. I have my projection, I have my rankings in, but I just forgot to do my ranking set on DraftKings just to load it into the Sidekick. So I do at least get to keep an eye on what the legendary upside cabal has to say about DraftKings rankings, which is I'm never going to get any Jaden Blue, probably. Definitely going to get some Miles Sanders.
You won't see too much Jaden Blue. If he falls to 190 or so, you definitely get him.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any strong opinions on Kyle Pitts? Like, do you have anything to say about the Pitts Penix stack that hasn't already been said?
Well, it's not bullish. I wrote up an article about the tight ends play action rates, and
that can't be
Kyle
good.
Pitts was so like normally if you look at a guy's like play action route participation divided by his overall route participation, it's nice to see like a ratio of like 0.8 is pretty good. Somewhere
Right.
between 0.8 and 0.9 is pretty solid. And then some of the backup tight ends, the number actually comes out higher. So their play action route participation will be like significantly higher, meaning they played like, maybe they played like on 60% of play action routes for that team, but then their overall route participation is only on like 45% of total dropbacks. So that's like because they're a tight end who plays on 12. Like they come in specifically for the run game, and so they're on the field a lot for play action. But generally, then you have a guy like Evan Ingram. He was at like 0.6. He doesn't really play on play action. He's just kind of out there to be a big receiver. He's basically a slot receiver. Pitts last year dropped to like 0.28. Like he just straight. It was like, hey, we're about to like run the ball. Like get him off, get him off, get him off,
Get him
like,
off, get him off. Yeah, get Kyle off the field.
So, that was a new coaching staff because he wasn't like that before. He was like around like 0.7 or something. It was like not great, but not horrible. So this new coaching staff came in, looked at what he was, and was like, anytime we're even thinking about running the ball, get him off the field.
You know what I love about drafting on DraftKings? You can just slam the button on Wan'Dale Robinson.
You can, but don't we need the tight end?
Sure. I mean, we could take we'll take Ertz, whatever. The Sidekick was pretty adamant there, and I don't really want to take 4, but boy do I love a format that allows me to take Demario Douglas and Wan'Dale Robinson. I really enjoy it. 9th in the NFL in targets last year, Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
What if Dart is good?
If Dart is good, Wan'Dale's going to be a really strong pick, especially in PPR. Matt Irby just had a good article. By the time you're watching this, I think it'll be out. I just scheduled it for tomorrow morning. He talks about the first read targets, and Wan'Dale Robinson was like shockingly high in first read targets. Now, it's maybe an indictment of Daniel Jones that their first read is like the slot receiver with a 4.58 odd or whatever. But it still shows, I think, that he does have even with Neighbors getting fed targets last year, Wan'Dale was still a really key part of the passing game, and they haven't really added anybody. So you would expect him to continue to be. I mean, he is kind of good at what he does. And what he does translates pretty well to PPR scoring.
Yeah, it's like on a format that rewards touchdowns or like yards or like positive plays. You don't necessarily need to be drafting Wan'Dale that much, but in a format that just rewards catching the ball and then immediately falling down, now that format is pretty gosh darn strong.
Now, what about the bonuses? Is he going to be getting all the bonus?
I'm going to guess Wan'Dale probably retires with 900 career receptions and 0 100-yard games. Just if I really had to guess, Wan'Dale is going to be PPR scamming at 33 years old. Like Wan'Dale, I believe he had one game last year where he had 6 receptions and negative receiving yards.
What do you think Wan'Dale's ADOT is going to be when he's like 31?
Oh my God. I wonder if it actually gets higher because they don't throw him screens anymore. So you're not throwing a 31-year-old wide receiver screens.
Yeah. The older he gets, the higher it gets. Yeah, that might be right.
Okay. Wan'Dale in his career, he has 5 receiving touchdowns. Wan'Dale once had a game. Okay, I'm trying to find. There was one really fun. He had a game with 5 receptions and 18 yards against the Miami Dolphins, which is pretty funny.
That is
it's not what you
really
want.
something there.
And Zach Ertz is basically Wan'Dale as a tight end. He catches the ball and he falls down. And we actually might be able to get Wan'Dale anyway because we're up in one pick. And Sidekick wants him, and just anything to keep from selecting Josh Palmer, who I can't do. Just anything.
Oh,
there we go.
Goes.
Oh, that's sick. I hate getting faked out by the Sidekick because there's like 2 seconds of latency before it removes the guy.
Yeah.
What do you want to do here?
Honestly, I would take Palmer. I think Palmer's a pretty solid pick. He's going to be the starting Z receiver for Josh Allen, most likely.
Oh God, man. All right. Well, I'm getting my Palmer teams through Pat Kerrane. Lord knows. Sacrilegious probably just saw he's in this lobby. He probably just saw me take Josh Palmer and he's like, what did Davis get body snatched?
No, he's like, Davis is using the Sidekick.
Davis is using the Sidekick. I do.
Because I mean he's what? Our wide receiver 6?
Yes. Yeah, he's our wide receiver 6. Our team is Brock Purdy, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kaleb Johnson, Drake London, Tyreek Hill, Tet McMillan, Kyle Pitts, Travis Hunter, Jauan Jennings, Jordan Mason, Caleb Williams, Bhayshul Tuten, Michael Penix Jr., Zach Ertz, Josh Palmer. Yeah, so our wide receiver 6. So honestly, if we're having to use Josh Palmer's score, either this team is stone dead or Josh Palmer had the game of his life. There's really no in between those two things.
I don't know. We're going to be starting, 4 wide receivers a decent amount. He only has to beat out 2 of the other guys. We got bye weeks,
That's a good question. How many weeks is Josh Palmer going to beat Jauan Jennings? Not very many weeks.
A few. I think the thing with Jennings or with Palmer to me is he allows you to fill out wide receiver volume at least a bit of a discount to some guys that I fully expect him to outscore Xavier or get,
Do I think Josh
he's
Palmer
going to score very similar to Hollywood Brown?
I don't know. It's like I have so many biases against Josh Palmer. It's like he was a bad prospect. He has 7 NFL touchdowns in 4 years. He's a Bill. Liam likes him. That's just it's just really there's a lot of biases to overcome for Josh Palmer.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What are we thinking for our next pick? Miles Sanders did go, so we're absolutely absolutely punching air right there.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 6 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, so probably a running back here. I like Shipley chasing here. I like Dylan Sampson here. Tight ends or whatever. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm down for the running back move. Sampson is fun. Kind of a swing here on a running back room that is a little thin.
Yeah, we are a little thin at running back. We didn't our running back 2, we took a pick 78. Our running back 3 is I said this to Neil the other day too. Like everyone is in universal lockstep agreement that Jordan Mason is a good pick. There's no dissenting opinion as being like, actually, Aaron Jones is a total picture of health and not 30 years old and just going to lock down this backfield. Like it's all lining up too good for Jordan Mason to the point that I'm like, I have to be missing something. There's got to be something that is off here.
Yeah, because the other thing with Mason is that you would expect like this type of over the years, you would expect like, oh, this guy probably just like wasn't very efficient last year and really is just really a bet on the roll. But he was very efficient last year. Rush yards over expected. He had 207. He was behind only Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Chuba Hubbard, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Josh Jacobs. And then he had a really strong success rate by next gen as well, behind only Chuba Hubbard, Tyler Algier, and Josh Jacobs, just ahead of Bijan Robinson. So he was really good. Now I know he's on the 49ers, but he's going to an offense that doesn't like need him. He's going to be propped up by Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. And as long as JJ McCarthy is any good, the running game kind of comes along for the ride. So And there's a lot of talk about him being the goal line guy. So it's not like the most inspiring pick. I think from a redraft perspective, that's probably why we're like, this feels gross and bad. But from a best ball perspective, where you need to have all the running back points on the team by the end of the draft, I think he gives you running back points.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is just the most likely scenario. I don't know. It's like, there's like some name that we're going to learn. Like Dwayne McBride is going to come back from the practice
Cam
squad and
Akers.
somehow Cam Akers is a saint until like what week?
He's a saint right now.
I was gonna say week 4 or 5 when they trade a conditional 7th round pick for him again for the 3rd time. Why don't they just admit they love each other? You know, they're like KOC and Cam Akers are like your worst friends in college who were dating, but they like hated each other and they'd break up all the time. It's like, just admit you guys like each other, okay? Just admit you're a Viking for life.
At a party, there's just in an argument in front of everyone.
Just enough. We don't need it. God, I've never seen anything more slappy than the sidekick telling me to take Harold Fannin here. We should take Jauan Johnson here.
Why Jauan Johnson?
Because we have nothing at tight end. We have Zach Ertz and Kyle Pitts, so like worse than nothing. Like we just need a man who exists, or Theo Johnson, one of the Johnsons.
Yeah, sure. I think Johnson. I'm a Theo over Jauan if we're Johnsoning.
Yeah, that's fine. Those are, I mean, the Jackson Dart, Theo Johnson, Tyler Shuck, Jauan Johnson. If either of those are the stacks you need this year, there are a lot of incredibly sweaty basement nerds who are going to have good advance rates and good results in the finals.
I do think with the Fannin thing, it's like a little bit of, how much do we value the routes, the certainty
versus
that there's going to be like
good
versus being good. Jauan, Theo Johnson, he peaked at 5 for 54 and 0, and then 3 for 51 and 1. He had 5 for 48 and 0. Topped out at 6 targets is his season high. He had games like he ran 26 routes against the Cowboys in week 4 and got 1 target for 6 yards. He had 31 routes against the Browns in week 3, had 2 targets for 13 yards. He's going to be the starting tight end, but he's not going to have great route participation, and I don't think he's very good. So Fannin, to me, like, actually am tacking him on in these types of rooms because I do have 2 guys that start in Kyle Pitts and Zach Ertz. And what Fannin gives me is like, there's a game plan where they're running a ton of 12 that week and he gets, 7 or 8 targets because he's a big slot receiver.
I mean, I think it is really unlikely, possible, but unlikely. Like no one was a bigger Duckfoot Fannin slappy than me, right? I loved it. Well, I was there.
I would like to submit my name.
How much did you have of him in pre-draft contest? Because I think he was like one of my most drafted.
Let me check.
But the landing spot for him was really good in Dynasty. Oh my God. Sniped on Jordan James in the 18th
that hurts.
round, man. That really does hurt. I don't like that at all. I don't even think Jordan James is good, but well, he might be fine.
I had 31% fan and he was my most drafted player.
All right. You got me. I submit. Number 1 fan and slappy, everyone. Let Kerrane put his dunce cap on. All right. We are up. We're gonna end up having the perfect warm sweater exposure on DraftKings. We have a 3-5-6-3. We can take one more running back. Jordan James already went, so I think we should live a little. Well, never mind. Brashard Smith already went. This must be a slappy emporium. This just must.
Sidekick screaming to take that 4th tight end, which I'm into for the Fannin.
Are any of them stacked?
We have Dylan Sampson and a
Kmet would be the stack.
Just wait if we're taking Kmet. Let's take the running back.
All right, let's do Ollie Gordon.
Sure.
I snapped him off. I actually do. I've been mental noting myself to start taking some Ollie Gordon because I watched Jalen Wright play recently. And that was an illuminating experience. Like advanced data on like only like 80 touches can't really tell you that much, but watching Jalen Wright, I watched there was one of those classic Twitter cut-ups of all their rushes and targets, and I mean it's just quite possible he's playing the game blind. Like there might be issues with his vision. Like he might have LASIK at some point and become a brand new player. You always know when an NFL player is shot when fans of their college team are not slappies for them.
Yeah.
And our friend Jacob Sanderson, his fandoms are so weird because he's Canadian, but he's a huge Tennessee Volunteers slappy, and he has no interest in Jalen Wright. So that is like, to me, that is pretty.
That's
telling.
never good. Yeah, that's never good. Yeah, I would say I think generally I want to try to keep the light on for rookies who are inefficient, but then get another chance. Like Tank Bigsby would be an example, where he was really inefficient actually as a rookie, but then pretty solid, actually really solid last year. And so, it's hard not to get nervous about these guys. Like I'm nervous about Braylon Allen because it was like, was he the number 2 at the end of the season, or was it really more Isaiah Davis? What's going to happen there? But if like Allen or Wright kind of comes through training camp and is starting to look like, they're clearly the number 2. Clearly the number 2. Allen probably already is, a pretty decent favorite to be the number 2. But Wright, it's more murky. I'll buy it. I'll buy what the team tells me about them being the number 2. But I also think the inefficiency for Wright, it does open the door to where Ollie Gordon could end up taking that number 2 job. He's a big back. He would fit probably better than Wright, the complementary role to Achane.
He was the best running back in college football 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. When was
nothing
that?
happened? Nothing happened in between.
Do you think he should have gone like Jamar Chase and just taken the year off and worked out? If he had done that, where do you think he goes?
Oh, second round. Yeah, right with Judkins and Henderson. Yeah. If like basically like some of it obviously was his fault because he was really bad, but Oklahoma State was also horrible. They won the Big 12, or I don't remember if they won or they almost won the Big 12 in 2023, and then they won one conference game in 2024, which is just obviously very hard to overcome if you are a running back, right? That the team context matters there as well. All right, positionally, I think we're just taking 2 more wide receivers, or do you want to take it? Do you want to take Cole Kmet?
Let's take Kmet. Let's do the 4th tight end.
All right. There you go. Shout out to Cole Kmet. Shout out to the 4th tight end meta. Cole Kmet is going to score more points than Harold Fannin and might be, dude, imagine the smell of winning $2 million because you took a 4% drafted Cole Kmet on DraftKings and he ships a 2 touchdown game.
Seems good. Yeah, I do like that. What if, let me paint a picture for you. Brock Purdy and Jauan Jennings just get off to a super fast start. Jennings is cooking. He scores 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And it's like Purdy, is going to clearly be the guy you need. But then Cole Kmet puts the team on his back. I can't even do it. He puts the team on his back. Caleb's running around. Kaleb runs for 110 yards and a touchdown. But then Cole Kmet scores a long touchdown. He catches the ball on the sidelines, kind of crosser, catches it on the sideline, turns up. This little cornerback kind of trips, falls. Kmet just running, barreling down the sideline. No one really near him for a long time. Safety comes over, takes a bad angle. Kmet cuts back inside.
Yes.
Finds that big middle.
Yes. Oh,
gets in the end zone.
Good.
Yeah. And then they drive down the field. Kyle Monungai slamming between the two. And right from the 2-yard line, Cole Kmet, game-winning touchdown. Kaleb hits the bonus, passes Purdy. That's what we need. We ship it on that play.
No, I think that feels likely. Cole Kmet.
That feels likely?
Feels likely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like if I had to
agree.
picture the most likely scenario of week 17, I think that's there. Cole Kmet has 2 career 10 reception games, including a 10 for 97 and 1. Also has a 7 for 85 and 2, a 5 for 70 and 2. I think I just come round 20 Kmet pilled myself.
Well, the Sidekick basically thinks we still have 2 tight ends because it wants Harold Bennett, which I
think
don't honestly disagree with.
that might be a programming issue. Like it might.
No, it's basically like, hey, you've spent the picks, but you still don't have any tight end points. Maybe take
the underlying projection for Harold Fannin is like, dude, Jamar Chase is sitting there in round 20. Like it just doesn't even matter the positional allocations. Like you just got to take this guy.
Yeah, I mean that is on a lower level what is happening. This dude's going to add more points still.
Yeah,
regardless of the positional allocation.
All right, final pick.
But I do love
last
Troy Franklin,
round wide receiver.
If you want to go receiver there.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone correlated at all it'd be like Parker Washington or yeah, no one. You said Troy Franklin.
Troy Franklin, I love.
Okay. I love is a strong word for Troy Franklin, but
yeah, it might be a strong word. It might be.
You know who, Kerrane? You know who my Harold Fannin is? It's Arande Gadsden. I would be taking him in 4 tight end builds. All right, everyone. Well, there we go. The team: Brock Purdy, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kaleb Johnson, Drake London, Tyreek Hill, Ted McMillan, Kyle Pitts, Travis Hunter, Jauan Jennings, Jordan Mason, Caleb Williams, Bhayshul Tuten, Michael Penix Jr., Zach Ertz, Josh Palmer, Dylan Sampson, Theo Johnson, Ollie Gordon, Cole Kmet, Troy Franklin. What do you think, Kerrane? What do you think we did?
It's a fun team. I like that we did Gibbs, and then as you were mentioning, we had that gave us license to kind of go full hero running back, and we did. We really put together some wide receiver depth. I like that we got a couple quarterbacks in the window. We really got 3 quarterbacks in the window with Penix, I think, kind of being maybe a secondary window right before it closes. We did not really stack Kaleb, which was a bit unfortunate.
This I would redo. I would just take Burden or Loveland there because we basically just got greedy there. I mean, that's what happened. Is we tried to have our cake and eat it too. And
the running back 4 was more important for the team, but I think we could have gotten Tuten back. So that's where I like the version of the team I like better is that we have Burden instead of Tuten, but then Tuten instead of Penix.
Yes.
And maybe we do end up with like a Wan'Dale Jackson Dart if we want to go with
we could have taken Guerrendo. That was I just got too excited to click on Tuten, really is what happened.
Tuten is an exciting click, man.
He's an exciting click. I just got too excited.
Who knows? Maybe that's the guy you need.
There you go. If people want to use this little tool we have in the corner here, how can they access it?
LegendaryUpside.com/sidekick. We are, depending on when you're watching this, hopefully it's still running, but currently we are running a 5-day free trial. If you're interested in checking out Legendary Upside, we have that free trial going for the standard tier. And then the Sidekick tier is a premium tier on top where you get this tool plus all of the leg up content is also included. And yeah, 5-day free trial. If you're already a leg up sub at the base tier, hit me up on legendaryupside@gmail.com and I will set you up with the free trial that way. But yeah, the recommendations that you've seen are driven by simulations of the best ball season. We have realistic fantasy scores for every week of the season. And that's how, we're able to say things like, hey, you still don't have any tight end points because
pay no attention to that.
Johnson.
That's actually just propaganda. That's actually, that's simply just propaganda. Of course, Kerrane and I are both DK partners for this week for the DraftKings Best Ball Week. So we'd encourage you guys to use promo code Mattek. There's a link to sign up over there. And enjoy drafting in the DraftKings Best Ball Millionaire Maker contest. And we will see you guys all back tomorrow.